All right, we are live. Let's see here. Go live on Instagram here shortly. And let's see. All right, and Eric is hopping on here shortly. Go live. Boom. Okay, we're live everywhere now. Welcome, everybody. Glad to have you on for office hours. Love seeing new faces here, and great to always have those who join us every week. Jeremiah, it was really great to meet you in the flesh. Wasn't that a great event?
Yeah, it was. I couldn't say enough good things about it. Just so many wonderful insights and different perspectives shared, and it just really helped tune up some of the things that I was already doing. So always appreciative of the information, and it was a great opportunity to meet you and Eric and shake your hands and talk a little deeper into some of the subject matter. And I'll probably be in attendance next year as well.
Awesome. Yeah. For Javier and Mike, the two Mikes that are on the call here, we were just at a private money lending mastermind with Alexis and Abraham that they hosted, and Eric and I had the privilege of being able to speak there and share our story and what we're doing in lending as well. But that's the event that we're talking about. Great event. If you're going to be doing anything with private money lending and you want to learn the game of private money lending, the business of private money lending, then highly recommend that event. And my understanding is they're doing it based on demand. So if you'd like to have another one of those private money lending mastermind events and be able to go and network and learn, I would highly recommend you reach out to Alexis and Abraham and blast their phones and emails with encouragement to do another one so you can come. They're worth it. Wow, we got Marlon on here. Marlon, welcome, man.
What's up? Sorry, I'm at the gym, so I was just like, let me just jump on.
Yeah.
See what's happening.
Marlon manages all of our social media, and he's doing all of our ads. This guy's the guru. He's the man.
Thank you for the introduction.
Yeah, Marlon, this is interesting. So Bob Ramsey is a guy out of Wilmington, North Carolina. I just finished the call with him. It was scheduled to be a 15-minute. We talked for 30 minutes, and I was 2 minutes late to office hours because of it. Yeah, he's doing big deals. He's doing great stuff, and he was convinced on the 30-minute call. He's like, let's do business. And Justin, by the way, I walked him step by step. He's a smart guy. I walked him step by step through the loan analyzer, and he's a really smart dude. He says there needs to be edits to it, like,
Sure.
the purchase price line isn't even there. So I might move it from the Sand 2.0 to the Sand 1.0 goals on that, just based on his comments.
Yeah. No, that works.
Dude, that's awesome. So yeah, that was an ad lead.
Yeah, it was a Facebook ad. Bob Ramsey's name, just barely got off with him, and he's like, I've got deals. I'm ready to do them. I understand what you guys do. Like, thanks for the calculator and stuff. He was skeptical at first on, like, well, how do you guys do the underwriting? How do you guys figure this out? Like, why would you offer 100%? And I showed him this got to be 80% of the as is value, all that stuff. But yeah, he seems interested, and he seems ready to rock and roll. So this is the kind of stuff where we can train a sales team to take that kind of call and do it with us. But it was a really good call. I loved it.
That's awesome. That's a video right there. Why are you guys offering 100%? And then put that as part of the pre-sequel call so they can watch the video. So like by the time they have the call, they don't have that objection or concern. I guess it's not really an objection.
Sure.
Just more of a question.
Yeah, for
Dude,
sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Love it.
Yeah, no, it's super exciting, and he's there's a ton of other people like him. It's like stuff that I'm telling everybody on these office hours. Like, when you really know how to sell private money and you know how to describe the value of it compared to all the other headaches that they've been through. I mean, this guy's a smart guy. He's done a lot of rehabs. He knows his stuff. He understands all the hassle of a bank loan or a hard money loan. He understands that we're more expensive private money, but he wants to work with us. Like,
yeah,
it's just like shout it from the rooftops, like that's our bottleneck right now. When you're building your own private money lending business, if you have your systems, your processes, your employees, your underwriting, you got your sources of capital, you've got investors that want to invest with you, or eventually a bank loan or whatever you've got. And then you get to the next step. It's basically just like, the bottleneck is just finding more people like Bob and like shouting from the rooftops your product and your offer and saying, hey, this is us, come get it. There's so many people out there that need it. So many people.
And also, I was gonna say on this call, like anyone are they all actively doing deals? Are you guys still working your first deal? Like, where are you guys at? Because we just dropped a video on YouTube with Crystal and Justin. She had a lot of headaches with working with a private money lender who took like 50% equity, literally did nothing, and then also tried to sell the deal behind her back. So like, it's a very interesting story. It's a very interesting case study of like how Eric and Justin really genuinely like saved her for the next future deals, saved her the headache, saved her the stress of trying to find where am I going to get my capital. Because yes, real estate, you got to find a good deal. Eric and Justin help you analyze the deal, but the more important part is like everyone's always like, how do I get the money? That like no one's just sitting on cash. Like I mean, I don't have 500K in the bank. I don't have like $1 million in the bank. I don't know about you guys, but yeah, definitely interesting to watch. If you guys have any questions on there as well, I think Justin can drop the link to that.
Yeah.
Here as well.
For sure. I'll find that and drop it in there now. Boom. There we go. All righty. All right. Jeremiah.
Hey, question for you guys. I probably should have asked you when we were at the mastermind, but if I find myself in a position as I kind of move more in this direction, and I find that I'm ready to go to that next level in terms of raising the capital, and I'm going to fund a deal that's not mine, because it's probably been my deals that I fund, or I've been lending with my money. But I'm starting, you know, based on the education, insights, and repetitions, I'm kind of getting to where I'm close to getting to that next level. What opportunities would there be to reach out to you guys, or maybe leverage you for that first deal or two, for almost like a credibility / peer check type approach? Because that's a big stepping off point now, because, you know, obviously the fiduciary responsibilities get a little more serious, because now it's not just my money, it's somebody else's. And, you know, obviously there's going to be, I feel confident in my underwriting, but at the same time, when I'm using somebody else's money, I'm just going to want that peer check. And so just wondering what opportunities might exist for you, just kind of bounce things off you, and maybe even leverage you as a credibility check for somebody doing, you know, their first deal with me in that position.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I guess, like, what is a specific ask? Like, would you want to do like a co-lending with us for the first deal, where like we are underwriting it and funding it, and you're almost like brokering or connecting the deal? Or do you want to have this deal kind of like on your own, but you can say, like, which we would gladly help you out with, be like, hey, we had expert partners underwrite it and they confirm that the underwriting checks out, like kind of like our stamp of approval. Like, is that?
Yeah, the latter of the two, Eric, is what I'm looking for, is taking that first big bite, but having Big Brother there to kind of just keep eyes on me.
Yeah. I mean, I'm putting more work on Justin's plate, but I'll gladly say sure. That, like, if you want us to just check out a deal and say, like, you know, hey, I've had third-party reviewers check this out and they said it was good, we could help you out by looking at it.
What I could even do,
that would be the ask. Yeah,
I could potentially even give you our underwriting sheet, and if you wanted to just drop the comps into the underwriting sheet, that would show, that would at least lay it out the way that we already look at it. So it would be a very quick thing for us to be able to look at your underwriting and just validate whether or not it's, you know, it's on track or not. That doesn't necessarily mean that it would be, you know, if it depends on how detailed you want to go into that underwrite, because obviously, you know, we've got like some of our borrower vetting is really more like along the way. So it's really about understanding a little bit more about them as we are looking through the deal and as we're communicating with them through that process. And then the final sort of due diligence piece really happens once we offer the term sheet. We have them go through our background check and make sure that there's nothing funky going on there.
Yeah, and those were like some of the pieces that I didn't get. I don't know. We didn't really jump too deep into that during the mastermind. And so there's just a few nuggets there that I'm like, I'd just be holding my breath doing that first one on my own, which I'm going to. And I want to, enter into the space a little deeper than what I have. But we were on an after Zoom, or excuse me, a follow-up Zoom with Abraham the other night for like 3.5 hours, and we really got into some things in terms of the underwriting, and I felt very comfortable in the fact that most everything he was presenting, I was like, yeah, these are things I already know, I already do. It's how I underwrite it. So that made me feel good in terms of my confidence in the underwriting. So it's just that I think it's just maybe some of the logistics of it too. So anyhow, I don't want to steal all the time here, but I guess if I'm going to move in that direction, I'd just like to know there's somebody I can bounce, maybe a thing or two off of, just to help with the credibility and the confidence on that first one or two.
Yeah, sure.
Definitely can. And just another higher level thought is like open office hours are meant for us to be times to collaborate, think, like we leave it open on purpose. So, we can talk about our deals, about our heartburn and headache, and also our celebrations and big wins. Like we can talk about all that kind of stuff. And if you have a certain heartburn or headache with a deal that's giving you a problem, or if you've got a deal that you don't know how to underwrite, or you did the underwriting, you just want us to double check it, we can do that during office hours too. You can say, hey, look, this deal is kind of stumping me, or hey, like I think I did the underwriting the right way. Check it. We can talk about that during this time too.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you guys so much, man. Appreciate it.
And if there's ever a concern about it being live on like YouTube and stuff like that, we can always save a time afterwards where we go and drop the live stream, and we'll go to the more intimate with just a few of us sitting here together in a room when we're talking. Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Awesome. Well, thank you both. Appreciate the love.
Yeah, you bet. Michael Williamson, good to see you.
Yeah, Justin, Eric, good to see you guys. Jeremiah, good to see you again. So anybody that doesn't know, I got to meet all of these guys, and there's probably other people on the call too that was at the PML event this past weekend, but I just can't see them on my screen. So
we got
it was a really good time.
Laura's here.
Good to meet you. Yeah. It was a great event. And then I got to see Eric again on Tuesday evening at the Cincinnati Sub 2 meetup. Thanks for coming to that, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, it was wonderful to be there. I've been like a pinball this past week, like bouncing back and forth everywhere. Brazil, Indianapolis, Minneapolis, Atlanta, back to Indiana, Cincinnati, back to Brazil.
Dang, so you're back to Brazil now?
Back to Floripa.
Floripa, that's where I am. Yep.
Yeah, and I missed the PML event. Oh gosh, I'm so
we
sad.
miss you, Yara. Next time.
I did. I just moved from there a month ago. Yeah. Eric, guys, do you know if there is a recording for selling for those that didn't attend?
Yeah, Abraham and Alexis, they should be able to sell you like a virtual package for the recording of it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
If you want our presentation slides, that kind of stuff, we can give that to you for free. But for the whole shebang, you'll need to get that from Abraham or Alexis.
If you can send me, I would appreciate that. You have my email, Eric?
I'm just gonna put it in the chat here. That way we don't do a bunch of emails afterwards, but I'll put it there and you guys can grab a link to our PowerPoint.
Yep. So anybody who wants our slides there. Justin's the efficiency officer in chief, so he keeps everything super streamlined and efficient. Yeah, Yara and I actually did a private money lending deal in Georgia. So we've done business. We made it happen. We got that paid out.
When is next?
Let's do it. We've got more deals coming.
Let me know. Let's do it.
Yep.
That was a good deal, Eric.
Yep, for sure.
So I just dropped our slides at least into the chat. We're willing to give that out. Anything further, you'd want to reach out to Alexis and Abraham, and they've got a whole boatload of package of videos and everything. It's worth it. I don't know what they're charging for that. You'd have to ask them, but I'm sure it's pretty reasonable given the value that's in it.
Thank you, guys. I'm trying to open it.
So, Javier, you reached out to me earlier this week. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing and kind of where you might see yourself intersecting in this space.
Okay. So I joined Gator last year, and throughout my venture. Managed to compile a team. They're both gators, of course, with Jenna and Jeff. Jenna's more of the implementer. He actually organized me and Jeff, two guys together, I guess, don't really make a good team because we weren't too organized. So I'm not sure how you and Justin do. I mean, you and Eric do it, but it seemed like you guys doing a pretty good job. But throughout that time, I've managed to meet a lot of different private money lenders. Majority of them hard money lenders that can get a little creative, and so I connect them or bird dog them, less pace like they say, towards those different lenders that we have, and we have our transactional lenders as well, and so we're just trying to organize ourselves as we go and build as we go.
Got it. Yeah. What is your primary focus of your team there? What are you primarily raising?
My focus?
Yeah.
So my focus is more so getting the lenders and making sure that they're protecting in every single deal.
Got it. And what types of deals are you raising for predominantly?
Fix and flips. We're actually working on a land deal right now and a few buy and holds.
Okay, gotcha. And do you do primarily first position, or you do a lot of second position gap deals and things like that?
We do everything, first, second, and transactional.
Okay, got it.
So we try to put ourselves in every part of the deal if needed, because we're getting some borrowers, they're trying to use none of their own money, but of course pay for the money. So we're giving them that ability to do it.
Yeah. I've done a lot of second position deals, but since partnering with Justin, 0 second position.
Why is that?
Yeah. It's a good
second position is risking the biscuits big time. Big time. And
so most of our gap lenders, they're looking for collateral. So you have to have equal value or higher for them to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, collateral can help, but I've also done deals with collateral that are just a massive nightmare in second. Like there's a whole ball of wax there that you've got to look at, especially if is the collateral also second position or is the collateral first position?
Collateral's first position. So the collateral, he like my gap lender, he's looking for something that's free and clear typically, unless that investor has experience doing something that way.
Okay, so that's actually a different kind of scenario then, and that's I would honestly call that a first position loan, because the real security there is that you have a first position loan because you're leaning over this free and clear. It just so happens to be that you're giving them essentially a private money cash out refinance on that free and clear house, and then they use that money to go for business purposes as a gap for their other deals or whatever. So that's, yeah, in my book, that's still a first position loan if they've got a first position property securing it and then they just use it. Like we do first position loans where people are just like, hey, I have business expenses and I'm going to invest it, but I need money that I'm going to pull out of this house that's owned free and clear. That's a first position loan that they're using a cash out refi for business purposes, basically.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
One thing I would just say, just to encourage, is as you're analyzing it, making sure that the subject property has a viable pathway to paying off that debt exclusively without the cross collateral having to come into play. Sometimes cross collateral gets added on, and the loan itself is technically secured by enough equity, but after the debt is paid, can the subject property make the payment? Can the subject property pay the debt? Can the subject property pay enough to pay the debt and give the borrower something that was beneficial to them? Because otherwise their motivation is wrong, right?
Correct.
If they're sitting on a deal where at the end of the day, after closing costs, after they pay your debt and all of that, they're only going to, like a 6-month deal, they're going to make $5,000. They have no vested interest in making good on that loan. No.
Yeah, making sure they're not over leveraged throughout the whole process. Yep, 100%.
Yep.
Yeah, and this is a key thing that I had a complete mindset shift on because of Justin and because of partnering with him. And by the way, there's still big players in the game that still have that other mindset. I'm not saying it's a bad way, but my previous mindset was like, I don't care. Like, I mean, I hope that you make money, but that's your business, right? Like, I don't care what what the metrics are on your end. As long as I'm secured on my end, then I'll do the deal, right?
Correct.
And like Abraham Gray like brought up that point where he's like, well, yeah, I'll tell people, hey, you're screwing yourself. I'll make you sign a disclaimer that like this is a crappy deal. I shouldn't be doing it, and you're giving me collateral or whatever. But I think you're gonna probably lose money on it, but I'll still fund it.
So correct. So example, like I have a bar right now, right? The deal is not too good, right? They're over leveraged and she's looking to pay from, her $10,000 a week monthly paycheck, right? But the way I'm looking at it, I'm here to protect that lender. So if you can't pay with this asset, then we can't lend to you, can't help you. Right. So that's how I do look at it, 100%, right? Because my job, like I said, is to protect the lender and making sure that that individual is never over leveraged, so that first position lender can always get paid.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and what Justin is saying, I think we're on the same page, but just for clarity for everybody listening, is like if somebody has a second position deal that they want to use the funds on, and it's just really, really tight, they might make money, they might lose money. Even if they give us first position collateral, like we're super secure as a lender because the first position collateral is the Taj Mahal worth millions. We're only lending $100K against it, right? Even if we're rock solid, super secure on the first position, we still don't want to do that deal because what they're going to use the funds for is going to be a money pit. They're going to throw the money in there. It's never going to come back. That's going to create a bad taste in their mouth. It's going to start off the relationship on the wrong foot. They're not making any money. They're losing money. And now guess what? Now I've got to go foreclose on the Taj Mahal. I got to go foreclose on their beautiful, good collateral. And that's you're creating an enemy, not a friend there. So I don't care. People are like, I've got great collateral. I was like, well, do you want to lose it? Do you want me to take it? Because I don't want to. I don't want to foreclose on your collateral. I want to have a deal where you're going to win on it. And this deal is just way too tight. Like sometimes people are delusional. They think that a property with a 300K ARV has a 600K ARV. They got their head in the clouds like, oh, I'm going to make hundreds of thousands. You're like, no, look at the comps. You're going to lose money. Don't do this deal.
I'll throw this one out into the stratosphere. We had a gentleman just yesterday came as a Facebook lead who sent us a deal. He thought his property was worth 360 because he saw a comp that sold for 340. A comp, one comp. I don't know where he made up the difference, but that was what he believed. And our underwriting team underwrote it and said, well, no, the maximum that we're seeing, this property is more likely to be somewhere in the ballpark of 320. But he's wanted to borrow let me give you all the numbers. So ARV is much closer to 320. The rehab on it needed to be $35,000. And he wanted to borrow $270,000. Is that a good deal or a bad deal?
A bad deal.
Yeah. And why?
It's not enough spread.
Not enough spread. Yep.
There's a negative spread. He's like,
he's going to go upside down. Yep.
He's upside down from the start.
Yep. And he was upset when we pointed out that to him. So we don't want to ever work with him ever because he's too arrogant to even see that we're actually looking out for his welfare. Like we don't want him to get hurt. We would like to help him. And you add in the cost of the loan, the cost of closing, he'd be upside down, and he's going to be upside down because he's like, well, you wasted all of my time. And I was like, well, no, I don't think we did. You wasted our time.
Yep.
So yeah.
Like sidebar, didn't you Google his name afterwards? Just a bunch of lawsuits. But it's rarely like when I was in biomedical engineering and people were writing a grant, like one of the best advice I got from one of the top professors is that there's no Cinderella stories in grant writing. What he means by that is that like somebody is sending in this scientific grant where they're asking people for $20 million or whatever, like this big, huge project. There's no Cinderella story. There's no like really bad start to the grant. And then all of a sudden on page 9, you're like, holy cow, this submission is incredible. Now I understand it. Now it's great. Now, yeah, let's fund it. Like if it's bad in the first few pages, it's going to get rejected. You're not going to get funded. And he's never seen one that was bad at the start that turned out good.
Yeah.
With borrowers, it's might be a little bit of an over assumption there, but in general, like if somebody's showing you concerns, arrogance, problems, that they're not going to be a good borrower, I have yet to see one Cinderella story.
Yeah.
I have yet to see one time where there was like, something seems off. This is weird. This is a red flag. This borrower's kind of a jerk. And then it turns around and they're an incredible person and we do lots of deals together and successful. Like, I would be so bold as to say that I don't think there are any Cinderella stories with like borrower lender relationships either. Maybe there's one that's a one-off, but it's just not worth your time to chase it. Find the ones that start on a good foot and keep going on that good foot. Don't try to make everything into a deal.
So just curious, for those of you that may be crunching the numbers on that one, what's the max that you think he should be paying for that property? That doesn't mean the max that you should loan, but what do you think he should be buying it for?
So let's put it in the chat here just so we can have it.
Yeah.
320K ARV.
Yep.
I'm typing it right now. And
35,000 for rehab.
35K rehab. What should his max purchase price be? We've got our formulas and stuff, but we just want to hear.
I would say the max would be like 200,000.
Okay.
190.
All right.
Where do you get that? Like, what formula are you following?
Sure. Yeah.
I'm not following from it. It's just top of my head, just looking at the numbers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pretty good for top of the head.
Just,
Anybody
just trying to make sense of it,
about
to make sure that there's spread at the end.
Jeremiah's got, okay. All right. Jeremiah's over there like doing a pick line insertion and doing the math on the top of his head too. Yep. That's great. I love that.
Yep.
Who else? Anybody else have an idea? Any thoughts on what do you think his max should be? Like, and I mean max. Like, this is like, you shouldn't be going above this number to purchase that one and make it work. Any other thoughts?
Yeah, I come up with about 200K also, but
okay.
That was at like 70% of as is value. I mean, you could go higher and probably still be okay, but that was where I landed at.
Okay.
Was it 200K at 70% of as is?
I love Laura's comment. More comps. Yep, absolutely. Let's assume that this one is actually at 320 because that's actually how we do it. We'll always assume the borrower is right first and see if their math even works, right? Because you might disqualify a loan before you even looked at one comp, because how many times is the ARV going to be exactly what the borrower says? Most of the time it's a little bit lower. So if it doesn't work with their numbers, it surely won't work with ours, right? So you can also do the math on that one and immediately either qualify or disqualify, okay, at least it meets the basic threshold, the math pencils, or it doesn't pencil. But so we've got kind of in the ballpark there. So our formula is 70%, as Eric said, 70% of ARV minus the rehab. So you start at 70% of 320, you subtract the rehab, and that's the maximum they should be paying, and that's not the maximum you're going to loan. You're going to loan less than that on the purchase side of it, and then you could lend still 100% of the rehab as long as the rehab makes sense. It should always pencil theoretically when you use that ratio there. So we've got it sitting at 189. So that would be his max purchase price. He should be buying at 189, no more than that. And so then our loan needs to be less than that. And some people are going to lend 90% of that number. Some people are going to lend 80%. We're going to lend 80%. If you can get it down to the 80%, we'll give you 100% of that purchase price. So our loan number on the purchase side of it is going to be 151, 200. So that would be our loan for the purchase, the acquisition side, and then we would give him 100% of his rehab, but in a construction holdback.
So for that, would you guys, because I know hard money lenders, they give more points if you're a GC or if you're a broker in that area. Do you guys do that as well?
I would say that we would definitely entertain if we had somebody that, I wouldn't do it just because they said they had experience or they appear to have experience. I'd want to do a deal with them first. If
Okay.
you have done a few deals with us, I think we probably could tighten that up a little bit, but you know, that would
Okay.
be on a case by case basis. And it would still also need to take into consideration the unique timelines of foreclosure in each state. So if your foreclosure law, we lend in Ohio. Ohio's got a little bit of a longer foreclosure. We use a Cognova note, which shaves off a boatload of time from there, but still, um, you know, um, the going rate is somewhere around 4 months, I think, for even with the Cognova note. So it's a little bit longer than say our Georgia market, which is 2 months.
Okay.
So you got to float that money
Right.
for a little bit longer while you're waiting for the government to do what it's supposed to do.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I'm trying to find the post on Facebook. I'm not finding it now, but Nate Barger actually gave a really detailed post breakdown. He's the leader of the Bird and Beth Academy. Very, very fortunate that I had lunch with him on Tuesday night in Cincinnati. That was like very right after I went to that brief meetup. I grabbed some, dinner. I grabbed some dinner with him. This guy is, I don't know, somewhere between 100 million net worth, tons and tons of properties. He was saying that he doesn't do 70% minus rehab for his MAO. He does 70% minus rehab minus several other soft costs.
Yeah.
And that's his offer. He subtracts multiple other soft
Super
costs.
wise. Yeah.
That's his offer. And then he makes tons of money even beyond that because he quotes the rehab cost at like the market rate for rehab.
Yeah.
And he makes sure his deals pencil at the market rate, which is expensive. Contractors are expensive for rehab. And then he gets his own teams and his own massive national suppliers to do it for 40 to 50 cents on the dollar overall for labor and materials. So he makes money by his construction expertise, getting it done cheaper, and by negotiating the deal to 70% of ARV minus rehab minus multiple soft costs. And that's his offer.
Yeah. It really comes down to, like, think about this. You got Nate Barger, who's got a net worth of probably 200 million or something like that, some crazy amount of money, right? And he's just he's created his standards, and he doesn't break his standards, and that's what's got him where he's at. And contrast that with our gentleman from yesterday who thought that we were wasting his time, who's buying too high. Why? Because he has to get his deal. I have to get it. No, you don't. If it isn't a good deal, don't get it. Like, if it isn't a good deal, don't get it. Don't do that. Create your standards and then work until you find it. Yeah, it sounds like he's emotionally attached. Yeah, exactly, Jada. You can't be emotionally attached to your deals. It's easy, especially, I feel like that's a nice rookie mistake when you're starting out. You want to get a deal, and so it's easy to be like, I actually had a lead that came through, and let's see if we can make this work. But if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And so I'm repeating what Abraham said that really stuck with me as I started really refining my underwriting principles. Is like, if you just look at Zillow, you just quickly look at what are the sold comps in the area, and there are none, just move on. Like, don't try to make it work. You don't have to try and make it work. Just let it go. On to the next one.
Yep.
Yes, Ira says a lot of new gators are trying to do just about anything to get their first deal. Yes. And I get it. I think every single person's been there where you're eager to try and get your first deal. But if your first real estate transaction is not a deal, then it wasn't your first deal. It was your first face plant.
First dumpster fire.
Yep.
Yeah, it's funny too that, like, you'd think that the less experienced somebody is, the more critical and picky they should be on a deal. But that's just not how the world works, right? So like for the Nate Bargers of this world, like he's only doing the deals which are just super, super good deal. It's 70% minus rehab, minus closing costs, minus I feel like discounting. So here's another fee. Like it's 70% minus a boatload of stuff. He's gotten a deal super, super deep at an awesome, awesome discount, right? And so if there is some theoretical world where like somebody could pull off a tight deal, it's a Nate Barger because he can do the construction for half the price, but he still doesn't do that. Yeah. Even though he's one of the few people on this planet who could do a tight deal and still make it work and still make a profit, he doesn't. He just does a super deep discounted one. So the horrible thing is that so many of these newbies, they're the ones that have these super tight deals that are like, well, I can just try and make it work and I think it'll be great. Like, no. If the Nate Bargers of the world aren't touching it, then why do you think that you can touch it and turn this pile of dung into gold? It's not going to work.
Yeah. I see Jeremiah, you got your hand up again. I'm sorry, I just saw that.
Yeah. But Michael had his up long before mine. So
Michael, do you have a question? Thank you for pointing that out.
Hey guys, I did. I'm traveling at the moment, so I turned my camera off.
Sure.
But you guys met Miguel at the PML Mastermind too, and Miguel and I have came across an opportunity, and it's in Kentucky. It's just across the river from Cincinnati. It's in Newport, Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
Eric, Justin, would you guys be interested in seeing it, or is Kentucky really not in your land box?
So Kentucky is definitely not a state that we advertise for, that we can do a lightning close, because we haven't set up the relationships for inspectors there. We haven't set up our full paperwork. So we don't go out and blast to everybody like, hey, we'll fund deals in Kentucky, because we don't have an infrastructure set up for that. But the deal falls into our lap, that's different, because then we don't have to do all the work to sort it out, find it, advertise for it, have it come across our desk. So like by falling in our lap, I mean exactly this. Like you're coming to us and saying, hey, I've got a good deal in Kentucky. We can check it out. Yep. We can look at it. And if it makes sense, then based on the laws of Kentucky, that should be a fit for us. So yeah, I mean, if it's a good deal, we can do it. We just don't advertise Kentucky because it doesn't make sense for us to blast it to everybody that we can do a 2 or 3 day close when we're not set up for that. And that's just another thing as well. Like if it turns out to be a good deal with you, we can do it. It's just not going to be as lightning fast as Ohio or Georgia or North Carolina, West Virginia, just because we'll have to find an inspector, we'll have to find an attorney to do the paperwork. But it's something that can do. If it just falls into our lap and it's a good deal for you, a good deal for us, we can make it happen.
We'll have to do a little bit of research too. You know, like, I mean, there's certain things we don't know as much about the state. So you have to take some time to really make sure you understand what you're walking into. Sure. I think we're close. Was there a little bit longer too, which is kind of funny because it's like otherwise like super chill. It's such an interesting place. My brother lives there and he loves so much about Kentucky because it's so laid back and it's wonderful. But for some reason the foreclosure laws are kind of weird. So we'll have to dig into that and understand it.
Okay. Do you want me to submit it through Creative Cash Partners, go that route, and then see what happens with it?
Yep. CreativeCashPartners.com.
Okay. All right, I'll go there and I'll start getting everything together so you guys can take a look at it. I mean, we could fund it, but we both look at each other and we're like, that's not what we're actually supposed to be doing. You know, we're supposed to be building the skill of going out and, you know, using other people's money, raising private capital, things like that. So we could fund it, but both of us are like, that's the easy button, is if we fund it. So we're kind of like, you know, let's try to use someone else's money and make this work and then put our money into other things.
Sure. Yep. Sounds good.
All right.
It gives us an opportunity to, you can have another pair of eyes on it.
Yes, and I appreciate that. That's one thing we've both talked about. Even though he underwrote it, I underwrote it. Still getting someone else to underwrite it and look at it and say, yeah, I think this is good or bad. Yeah, it's really appreciated. And that's one thing we appreciate about hard money lenders and such is they underwrite a deal. And if they don't want to do it, that should be a red flag to anyone.
Yep.
Like if they're not wanting to lend on this, like there's something wrong with it. And that's the way we've always looked at, someone that's coming into the deal, as a lender, if they don't want to do it, well, there's a good reason they don't want to do it. And you shouldn't do it either.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, I completely agree with that, Michael. The one additional, I guess, gold nugget, if you would call it, just regarding hard money lenders saying no and private money lenders saying no. When you go to certain zip codes and rural properties, hard money lenders will say no, but not because the loan to value is bad or the deal is too tight, just because they say no to rural, which there's wisdom in that too. Like a rural property, it'll take longer to sell. There's not as many buyers. You got to be more careful on the comps, but hard money lenders take it over the top, and they get so much deal flow that they restrict their deals and do it the way they want. But for example, I was doing some flips in Gainesville, and this is Gainesville, Florida, university town, healthy, growing, 130,000 plus residents. And this was right in the middle of town. I just did a deal with one of the hard money lenders in the 32607 zip code, one zip code over, like not in the boondocks out in Hawthorne, Florida, or Chiefland. And this is right smack dab in the middle of town, 32606 zip code. The hard money lender said no, because the past date assessment we went through with them was 32606. The 32607 zip code's a no. I'm like, guys, that's right in the middle of town. If we mean it's too rural, it's like, sorry, we just say no on that zip. And that was a good side of town. Like the west side of Gainesville is the good side. The east side has some rougher spots, but like it was right in the beautiful good side of town, great area. But like if hard money lenders are picky about that, imagine what happens when they see a small town with like 50,000 residents, 5,000 residents, 10,000 residents. They say no left and right. And we're seeing rural deals where buy for 50K, put 50K rehab in, whatever it is, 100K all in. And when you're finished, it's a $220,000 house. That's a screaming good deal. Yeah. But our money lenders just say, hey, like it's black and white. Your credit score dips below this, we reject you. You're not in this zip code, we reject you no matter what. And private money, we've got a massive advantage because if somebody has a screaming good deal, I don't care if it's a town with less than 100,000 residents. I'm still going to fund that deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's some hard money lenders we've ran into that are no Kentucky and no West Virginia.
Yep.
And I know West Virginia is one of the markets you guys serve. So, yeah, there's an opportunity there.
If anybody wants to flip in Charleston, holy moly. It's like left and right, there's those kind of deals. 70 or 80K purchase, 30, 40, 50K rehab, and it's like a 200 to 250K house, left and right.
Yeah.
Shortage of fix and flippers, shortage of lenders, but plenty of people that need housing and plenty of those types of homes. Yeah. So the caveat is that your home's not going to appreciate as much based on the historical data. Like, if you hold on to a bunch of homes in Florida or Texas or California, like the historical data says that those homes will appreciate a lot in the next 10 years. In West Virginia, it'll get some appreciation, but likely not as much. However, if you're a fix and flipper, you don't care about appreciation. You care about right now money. So there are some markets which are very advantageous for that. And we know people who are doing multiple deals in West Virginia and they're crushing it, like 2 or 3 deals a month. They just keep turning the same construction crews and turning those same kind of numbers, making great flip profits on every one. There's a good opportunity there for lenders to be a part of that and help them in that effort.
Biggest thing you're going to find in West Virginia from a comping standpoint is your comps don't necessarily always fit into the exact parameters that you are used to in big city, right? So, it should be in a half-mile radius. Well, you might not be in a half-mile radius. You might be in a mile radius. What we found, though, is we can make aggressive adjustments to ensure that it still fits even in those adjustments. So let's say I end up having to go a mile away or a half a mile away versus my half-mile preference, right? I can make an adjustment if it's, say, a mile and a half. That's really not, in my estimate, a preferred comp. But I can still take that if it truly lines up otherwise and say, well, I'm going to knock it down, 10% because it's a mile and a half away. And so it doesn't look real, it's just not optimal. So I'm going to just, err on the side of caution, I'm dropping that 10%. And if my number's still pencil, well, it's still a pretty darn good deal. So.
So that was Charleston, West Virginia you were talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's good to know. I didn't know all that. That's actually where I grew up at, and I still have family back there.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Yeah, I'll have to look at it a little closer.
People are locking up good deals. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a give and take, right? If you're going to burr them and keep them as rentals, you'll get good cash flow. Not really guaranteed appreciation, although there is an argument that it's starting to appreciate more. But for the, like West Virginia, just like any state, there's going to be bad sides of town, bad areas of the state, better areas of the state for economic growth and opportunities and appreciation. But West Virginia got a new state park, or a new national park. The what is it called? The River Gorge National Park, just beautiful area with all those canyons and ravines, and a lot of people that are sick of high taxes, high property prices, problems, moving from other areas to those nice pockets of West Virginia. So there's areas that are starting to pick up attention and grow.
Good to know. Thanks, guys.
You bet. Jeremiah.
Yeah, well, two quick questions. I want to get back to the formula that you use is that 70% of ARV minus rehab. How are you, can you just walk me through your due diligence on the rehab to ensure you don't stumble into, it's a $35,000 rehab, and 1 week into the rehab, we realize we have a major foundation issue. What are you doing to mitigate some of those elements?
One of the things is that the borrower is required to have an inspection done before we fund. So, and what is our process for handling that? Obviously, we usually offer a term sheet before that's done. We're going to look at the basics, look at the scope of work and make sure, okay, ballpark, it makes general sense, right? We've got, a kitchen. I see pictures of the kitchen. It looks kind of, in rundown shape, but maybe not terrible. And they've got a budget of, I don't know, say $5,000 for the kitchen. Well, okay, that might be reasonable for that house, in the ballpark of rational. Versus we had a real situation where this guy had pictures of the kitchen. It was grubby. It was filthy. It looked like it was from 1930, and the cabinet doors were falling off, and the kitchen sink was not mounted properly anymore. And he had $1,500 budgeted to spruce up the kitchen. Okay, so that's sort of, we're looking for the obvious. Okay, this is relatively in the realm, or whoa, like, what are you thinking? Like, that doesn't make any sense. But once we do the term sheet, there's a few next steps that we need to accomplish before we could close. And the only thing that could really change underwriting after a term sheet has been sent is if there's a massive finding on an inspection report.
Okay.
We're not going to nitpick about you have a wiggly plug. Okay. Hopefully you handled that in your scope of work. I don't care if you itemize that. It's not the end of the world. You better take care of it, because that'll be a problem, but I'm not going to nitpick on that. But, we had a situation where the borrower, he wasn't trying to hold anything over us. It was up in the attic, and I don't think he got up into the attic, and there was one cracked rafter. So that's a bigger project. And so we made him add it to his scope of work. And that changed the scope of work. That changed a little bit of the underwriting, not by a lot. And so we needed to just adjust our rehab budget that we were going to fund for him.
Okay.
The way we underwrite, there's usually enough margin that they could potentially have a little bit more added to that rehab budget and still be okay, as long as it's not huge swings.
Very helpful. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The second question I had was just kind of going back to your scenario where somebody comes to you, like maybe that gentleman you talked to yesterday, and you get the 320 ARV, do the math, where they need to, but where they would have needed to buy it,
Mm-hmm.
and you're $11,000, $12,000 off. Is that just a hard no, or what's that conversation sound like? Hey, go back and renegotiate a better purchase price, and we'll consider it. Otherwise, we're done here.
Yeah, for us, that's a hard no with the encouragement that they need to renegotiate. Like
Okay.
we're not going to keep that in our CRM. The
Got
deal's
it.
been denied. If you get it renegotiated, you're welcome to bring that back to us and say, hey, I was able to renegotiate the purchase price down. That's fine, but we're not going to continue waiting.
Hard stop.
And in the future, like I think that one might actually meet. Let me just double check. Yeah, that one was, he's asking for 84% of ARV as a loan. In the future iteration, which we're about to go live on that new version of Monday, that'll automatically get a denial email. The moment he submits it, it'll come back and say, unfortunately, this does not meet our funding criteria.
Nice feature.
Yeah. So, and it'll be a nice video of Eric giving some of the top 10 reasons why deals get denied.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
So it comes with context.
Yeah.
Eric, do you see yourself maybe underwriting a little differently after your lunch in? Because I was going to ask that question too. Is like you got your ARV, 70% of ARV minus rehab, but I never heard anything about like origination fees and holding costs and things like that. Do you think you guys will make a little tweak there to accommodate for some of those numbers?
No, because it's still a good deal.
Yeah.
It's still.
And I would just say too, Eric, on that note, I think we actually do accommodate for that by quite a long shot. We're 80% of AR of as is value, which is pretty deep.
Okay.
Well, and Nate Barger, remember that he's looking to not just get a refi with zero out of pocket. He's looking to get a cash out refi on all of his deals.
Got it.
He wants a cash out refi because if you don't, then and he doesn't pocket that full cash out refi, by the way. He forecasts all the expenditures for the next 10 to 15 years and keeps that as a reserve because he looks at how long is your HVAC going to work. It's going to be an expensive HVAC. How long is your water heater? How long is your whatever, like the roof? Like he forecasts the repairs for the next 15 to 20 years. He wants to have a cash out refi that puts cash in his pocket so that even if you don't count on the cash flow or the appreciation of the place itself, which will get both of those, he has enough from the cash out refi to pay for the HVAC in 5 or 6 years. So it doesn't cut into his cash flow or his returns, right? So he wants to be all in at like 60 to 65% of the value of the house so that he can do a cash out refi for 75% and pocket that, 10% difference, sometimes more, So for a fix and flipper, if you're all in at 75% or all in at 70%, there's going to be more soft costs and stuff too, but you're still going to make a great spread and get the cash in your pocket on the sale. So I don't think I need to go even further down. If anything, we would make more money if we were a little bit more aggressive. We just don't have the data to back it yet. But like, for example, right now we do 80% of the as-is value. So like we take the MAO, 70% of the ARV minus rehab. That's our maximum allowable offer MAO. Right now we're doing 80% of the MAO. Justin originally had it at 70. We went up to 80.
Okay.
Based on our data, I think that over the next 100 deals closed, we can analyze them and see where did the deal fail. Did it fail at the as-is value point? Very, very rarely will that happen. In my opinion, from my past experience and looking at hard money lenders deals and foreclosures, if somebody's set to make money on the deal, they're going to rehab it. And they're going to attempt to sell it. It's going to go wrong somewhere else. So in the future, I'm actually thinking, we might go to 85 or 90% of the AIV just because we don't see failure at the AIV point. We see failure where they did the rehab and they just couldn't sell it or something else happened. Because, we're leaving money on the table. Like by not giving them that little bit more,
right.
That's what we could have made. That's a higher loan volume and that's more money we would have made if we would have adjusted that parameter. So as long as we can do that safely, that's a tweak in the future where we can make 10% more on the purchase price per deal.
Yeah. And I think to a certain extent, we're also, we're learning more and more our markets. Like there's certain markets where, I know Eric's gone through a few foreclosures, but there's certain markets we haven't done a foreclosure in. So we know philosophically how long that foreclosure should take. And we've got the team to do that. However, we haven't gone through it. So that first one, looking at that, will
Yeah.
define a little bit more. Okay, does it really take that length, or how long does it really take, and how much cushion do we need to have to make sure that the deal has a spread on it?
Well, like in Georgia, I've got my foreclosure attorney that I've used twice already. I know that I can pay him a $3K retainer, which is super reasonable. He'll start the foreclosure the next month. It'll run in the paper. The Tuesday after that, it forecloses for a simple first position deal. Notwithstanding the borrower has some ridiculous bankruptcy or other wild claims or whatever, like it's a really simple process. So in Georgia, like to Justin's point, that would be one where it's like, yeah, we can probably bump it up to 85 or 90% AIV.
Mm-hmm.
In Ohio, like, yeah, you got the Cognovit note, but it's still kind of wonky. It might be a little bit slower to adjust that parameter.
Yeah.
Got it. All right. Well, thank you guys as always. Great insights. And I'm going to jump here, but I appreciate your time today.
Yep. Sounds good.
Cool. Yeah, we're getting to the end of office hours, but want to open it up and ask if anybody's got any other questions. I know we got quite a few folks on here, and would love to, ask if anybody's got anything that's a burning question on their mind.
It's not burning yet, but I have a question.
Sure.
If it burns, it melts my brain. I was on Zoom this morning and people are talking about these investment clubs. I know that you guys don't do it, but I'd like to hear your opinion about this. It's like getting a bunch of investors, they put whatever they have there, and whenever they have a property, they go there and buy with those funds. I think they are changing name. It used to call investment funds or even syndication, or now it's a club. You cannot call funds anymore.
So this is a group of people that are pooling their money together to buy properties?
Yes, but I think let's say they have those people that they manage the fund, and they probably are the ones who's going to decide which property to buy. And they said 80% of the investors have to agree with that deal.
That sounds like a syndication written all over.
For me, syndication, there's no other, it's just another name.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they've got some legal loophole where it's not an official syndication, but I would say, like, I mean, I would bet it like syndication. And, if you're going to be actively involved in real estate, you'll get the biggest chunk of the pie if you're the one doing the deal, or you with one partner instead of you with 20 partners. So I don't think there's a reason for you to like do syndication stuff unless you want to just pick a good operator and be passive about it and let that money grow. Like if you're wanting to be active and involved in the deals, you're much better off to find it yourself and do it yourself, or do it with one or two partners versus a big syndication group.
Yeah, they say with this gives you the opportunity to invest small amounts. If you have $5,000 sitting in the bank, you just put in that syndication.
Oh,
others are investing 20, 100.
That sounds like fractional. So Alexis and
exactly.
Yeah, fractional is the name where it's. I think they did use that exact term, the investment club, where like they all do a deal.
Yes, Callahan was in the zone.
Yep. Yeah, that's fractional. I mean, it sounds like it's interesting. You're not going to get massive returns that way. If it's backed by first position real estate, it's secure. But to me, that it only makes sense if you want to be very passive. Like if you want to just be passive with that 20K, then sure. But if you've only got 20K and you want to make that multiply and grow, there's a whole lot more you could spend that 20K on that would really make it grow fast if you're actively involved versus just putting that relatively small amount, 20K, in somebody else's hands and letting them grow it at whatever, 12 to 15% annualized. I mean, 15% annualized on
They're talking about 80%.
Yeah.
And then let's say the syndicators, they take 2% of the fees, so actually it's even less than 8% a year. I don't see it as a good deal.
Yeah. I haven't quite wrapped my head around that yet. I know there's some good people working with fractional, but I'd reserve my strong opinions for later when I've wrapped my head around it a little bit more.
Well, they're not delivering 15%, but think about this, guys. Like if all you have to invest is 20K, if you're going to get 15% annualized on that 20K, that's $3,000. If you're an active, savvy, wheeling, dealing, negotiating real estate investor, you can take that 20K or even $0 and just spend it on marketing, spend it on help, spend it on whatever, and double, triple that 20K. So there's no reason you should be, oh, here's my 20K, go set it off passively. Like once you've got $1 million, 2 million, 3 million, yeah, set it off passively and let it grow. But 20K growing passively at 8 to 15%, that's not much at all. It doesn't really make sense to me. You know, go do active stuff with that money, not passive.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. That's what I thought too. Just want to hear your opinion.
Sure.
Yep, no problem.
Thank you.
Yep. Awesome. Well, I think we have wrapped up now. Thanks so much, everybody, for participating and hopping on. We appreciate you and hope you all have an awesome Friday.
See you next week.
Thank you. See you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys. See ya.